Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into the varsity football team at West Bloomfield High School on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Alongside head coach Zach Hilbers, I'm Tyler Keefe. The Lakers coming off of their first loss this season in what couldn't have been a closer matchup on the road on homecoming night at Oxford High School. Final score was 33-34 in favor of the Wildcats. Pretty wild game. Started out with you guys down 14 points. You come back, score 26 straight. The result ended up not being in your favor. That last really minute of the game was the biggest of all the turning points, and there were several throughout the game. Take us through that last minute, what Oxford did really well to put them over the hump, and what you believe, in hindsight, your team maybe could have done better to possibly, if it is possible, turn the tide there.
Well, I think the last minute, you got to give them credit. They didn't really rush. They were patient in their plan. So, we fumbled the ball back to them with, I think, 4 minutes left, if my memory serves me right. And, down by a score, needing a touchdown to win, a lot of teams start to press right there. And they kind of kept their same game plan that they had. And, we probably were defending the pass a little bit too early on the start of that drive. They started running the ball. We did a good job of kind of anchoring down as they got closer, and thought we had strung together a few stops in a row, but they had a 3-year starter at quarterback who made a great play, extending the play, and made a good throw at the end.
Yeah, another fantastic game this season from Jack Hendricks, 10 for 16 passing, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, the last of which was probably the wildest touchdown he'll have in the entirety of his career. Talk about that last play. Pretty amazing moment for Oxford.
Yeah, you got to it's probably a pretty cool story for them and on their homecoming to see their fans get to experience it. Obviously, it's not good at our expense. But, give him credit. Kid's a little competitor. He's a fighter. He did what he had to do on that play. And, I told our kids the ball got tipped. There's an element of luck to that. We got to understand that. But our mistakes in the second and third quarter and start of the fourth quarter put us in a position where a lucky play like that will lose you the game, where, if we don't fumble the ball away or we don't have a penalty on 4th and 1, they don't even have the ball in that situation. So, that's how the game works. And if you take care of what you need to, you don't find yourself in that situation.
What changed in that third quarter, early on in the fourth quarter, from the adjustments you made early on when you were down 14 points? Oxford seemed to have your number. You made some changes, you made some adjustments, you made some improvements, you get the momentum back. When it goes back the other direction from the coaching standpoint, how do you address that and try to stop the run from, not the run, of course, the running game, the run of points and making plays from your opposing team in that situation?
Well, I think you kind of rely on your senior leadership. They've been really good with that all year, and I think they really were last Friday too. It's just, I don't think we let it slip. It's just, we fumbled the ball on a 3rd and 2 where we picked up the first down, 4 minutes left, and if we just hold on to it there, they're in a situation where they have to use timeouts to even try to get the ball back at all, and 3 more plays, you could be kneeling. So I don't know. That's not. That's something that obviously happens in football. We just got to coach our guys up better to prevent it from happening in that situation where it can really cripple you.
Yeah, it seemed to really be a battle between the two defenses, trying to shut down a mass of weapons that both teams have in the skill positions. From your side of things, obviously you're practicing against that yourself with your offensive weapons every single week, but when you go up against a guy like Seth Tabor, who had 3 touchdowns last week, 4 in the last 2 weeks, a quarterback as talented as Jack Hendricks, is there really a way to prepare for that kind of an outlook in terms of talent on the field?
You try your best every single week. The tough thing is teams are different and they're unique, and it's hard to, a couple days of practice that you have, get high school kids to emulate somebody else. We might have good players doing it, but they're just different kinds of players. And that's always tough to, simulate in practice. We do the best we can with it, with, their schemes and their players, but it's always different when it's the real deal lining up against you.
And it's different this time of the year, too, as you start to get really into the OAA-Red division. Every single team in this conference is a threat and has proven that to you in each and every one of these games. So as you take the good and the bad from last week and what ended up being a 1-point game, what lesson does that present to your team, especially those younger players, about all those things that you preach every single week, from the first practice of preseason to the last practice of the season, about discipline, about being in the correct sets, about communication, especially as you have Clarkston on the docket this week?
Yeah, I think we talked about it in our team meeting last night. A lot of credit has to go to Oxford. They were in a similar game against Rochester Adams. It was tied at the half, and Adams ran away in the second half. They had a similar game with Clarkston, where I think it was a 17-10 game at half, real competitive, and Clarkston ran away in the second half. And it looked like that was happening with us, where we ran off 26 straight points, 33-6 run, where we had total control of the game, but they never gave up. And despite the fact that had happened to them twice for sure, seemingly a third time in a row, they stayed in the game and trusted their stuff. So I think there's lessons in that. And we talked about what we can do if we're in a similar situation, is just kind of emulate what they did. And then obviously the easiest learning experience for us is look at the mistakes we made that cost us the game, because those always are amplified a little bit more when you have a finish like we did on Friday night. That, hey, look, one play here, one play there. We had a list of 12 of them. Any one of these singular plays, and we win. So you don't always know when those plays are going to happen, but you got to be ready for them either way.
The good from Friday night was a lot of what we've seen through the first 5 weeks of the season before that. Very efficient offensively, especially in the air. Another great game for Jackson Carver. Jamal Shakespeare getting involved in the air also seemed like the scheme from Coach Rise was getting mixed up a little bit differently this week, getting more players involved, and it was another fantastic week. A second in a row, really, from Will Espy, who had the second best rushing performance of the entire season. How is that offense changing as the season goes on, evolving as you get more of those really talented players involved and go up against simultaneously tougher competition?
Yeah. Well, I think the kids have really bought in. They're kind of selfless, where they know that we're going to spread the ball around, be really balanced, and they've kind of bought into that mentality, because I think they know it makes us better as a group. And then also when you get your touches, it usually is a little easier. It's never easy, but it's hard to key on any one play or any one player. That's our goal. But the offense was really good. We scored 5 touchdowns. We ran for 270 yards, and usually if you do that, you win. But you can point to some of the other things for, I guess, why we didn't.
Just goes to show how tough it is to win football games in the OAA. You can be an undefeated team. You can be a 2-loss team that's on the rise. And any given week, one play, 2 plays, one moment could be the difference between you winning and losing, picking up a whole lot of playoff points in the process. The Lakers falling 33-34 last week against the Oxford Wildcats. Big game again this week at home. Clarkston coming to town. CivicCenterTV.com/LakerSports for more information on that. Coach, as you come out of last week and into this week, also on the defensive side, we talked about the stars shining on offense. Rising stars on the defensive side played a big role last week. Jamar Ray had a couple of really critical stops. Tristan Hunter continues to get even more involved on that defensive line, being a power player. How is that also aiding an already pretty talented defense that's been putting up great numbers so far this season?
Yeah, those guys and a few others are just going to make us better and better, we think. Kind of gives us a good rotation and depth along the defensive line, because they've always shown ability to make plays. Jamar especially, we know he's a tremendous athlete, got great size and length. He just has to become a little bit more of a complete player, and he's done that more and more each week, so he's played more and more. And I guess with that, with the opportunity, you've seen him make more and more plays.
More players stepping up this time of the year. That depth comes into factor as you go up into the final few weeks of the season, and especially as you get into the playoffs, where you're going to need a whole lot of talent to win in Division I. Coach, appreciate it. We'll be back with you in just a moment. On the other side of this break, we're going to be talking to one of the biggest impact players of the last 2 weeks. Will Espy will join me. We'll talk about his changed role in 2025, playing offense and defense. Big week he's had the last couple weeks, and how he and the other leaders on this team are getting the team to put the loss of last week behind them and put all of their focus into beating Clarkston on Friday night. Stay with us. It's This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Shakespeare in the Wildcat. Takes it himself. Breaks free at the 50. Shakespeare got 2 men to beat. To the 20. Shakespeare still on his feet. Hesitates. Shakespeare going yard. Touchdown, WB!
Hi, this is Ken Graham, Director of the National Weather Service. Leaving a kid or a pet in a car can be deadly. In fact, every year, dozens of kids die of heat stroke in hot automobiles. Some are left there by caretakers, others get in there on their own, and they can't get back out. All of these deaths are preventable. Even on a relatively cool day or cloudy day, the temperature inside a car can quickly reach deadly temperatures in minutes. To keep your child or pet safe, set reminders, like a simple note on a dashboard, or put your phone or other belongings in the back seat. I always place my backpack in the back. Kids don't see the family car as dangerous, but in just 10 minutes, a hot vehicle can be fatal. Never leave a child unattended. Look before you lock.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football all throughout the season right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield Lakers senior athlete Will Espy. Different season for you this time around. Last couple of years it's been all defense. Now you're all over the field. What's that change been like for you in these first 6 weeks?
The change is good. I played both sides my entire life. I played offense my entire life, and just playing defense coming into high school, it just helped me. It helped me better to play offense when I was younger, so I can know what the offense is doing, what the offense is thinking, and then just playing offense. I've always had that mindset just my entire life, so it really just come natural to me, and it just feels good. It feels good for my team, feels good for us, and I'm gonna just keep making plays. Yeah.
Playing a lot of defensive back, your history from JV, from when you were younger in middle school and before playing quarterback, I'm sure that plays a factor in your ability to scope out offensive schemes and kind of read where the quarterback's looking. How does that help you, and how has that helped you this season, especially against some of the best quarterbacks in the state?
So from a young age, when I was playing quarterback, I learned from a lot of good coaches like Devin Gardner and things of that nature about certain coverages, about certain play schemes, about things like that. So just playing defense and not playing safety and being able to see the whole field, just like a quarterback, I know what teams are about to run, when it's about to be run, and it helps me play faster and just make more plays for my team.
As an athlete, you've been one of the critical points of emphasis in this Lakers offense, especially the last 2 weeks. 140 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in your last 2 games. What do you think has been the key for you being able to step into a critical role this season, and especially these last 2 weeks, really been the number one focal point of this offense?
Trust. I think I got trust in my brothers. I got trust in my O-line. I got trust in the blockers that block for me, and they trust me too. They trust me with the ball. They trust me to handle the ball, and they trust me to just run as hard as I can and play at 110%, no matter what play it is, no matter what down it is. And that just brings us me to gaining yards, scoring touchdowns, and doing things that help the team win.
86 rushing yards last week for Will Espy on the road in Oxford, the second best overall rushing performance in a single game this season for West Bloomfield. For the best, got to go all the way back to Obi Duru's 92 yards in week number 1. And on the topic of Obi, you got Jamal, you got Willie Edwards, who's been really critical to this offense this year, Joel Davis, too, having a great season. I'd imagine it's pretty tough to have that many weapons on your offense, get everybody involved like this, and somehow still be making the kind of plays that the Lakers have been making. How do you guys do it?
One thing we always want to be is we want to be a team that nobody knows what's going to come next. With all of our players and all of our athletes, we can scheme around anybody, any type of week, and nobody can scheme around us. Every single week, we usually don't have one person that we're just getting the ball to, one person that we're just giving the ball to. We have multiple guys gaining yards, scoring touchdowns, and making plays, and that's what helps us scheme against other teams and just be a better team in general.
The last couple of weeks, very tough matchups for your team. You go up against Birmingham Groves, which is always in the mix every single year, down divisions in the OAA. And then last week was arguably the toughest battle that this team's seen in probably 2 or 3 seasons overall, that narrow 33-34 loss on the road at Oxford last week. As you get ready for what's arguably the toughest matchup of the season for your team against Clarkston this week, how does the last 2 weeks help you better prepare for this sort of matchup, especially given the adversity you faced last week on the road?
Honestly, we knew adversity was going to hit us some point of this season. It just hit us a little bit harder than we thought, and that's fine because we brothers, and the brotherhood that we got and the bond that we got, it shoots past that adversity no matter what. We've been waiting for this week for a long time. I know I've been waiting for this week for a long time, and you don't even got to tell me what the circumstances is this week or what kind of championships coming this week or whatever. I was always ready to play from all the way back in February, you know what I'm saying, in the offseason when we was working.
Is this one of those matchups on the schedule? We know that's the case with Southfield A&T, all the personal history between these players, the relationships that have built over the years. Is this another one of those games that guys like you and Jeremiah, who have been on this team for a while at the varsity level, circle on the calendar every season?
Yeah, definitely. We play 7-on-7 with a lot of guys over there, like Alex, like Wendell Childs, all of them. So we play a lot of 7-on-7 with them. So things like that, just battling and having fun out there and just playing against each other, it always just brings a lot out of us before the season. And even just coming into this week, you know that it's HOCO week, you know that it's OAA-Red championship and things of that nature. It just brings the best out of us, and it brings the good out of me and my team, and also I know it brings it out of them too.
The Swamp's going to be the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Friday. Nothing but stars from both the Lakers 11 and 11 on the side of Clarkston on Friday night. We'll have live coverage for you right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Will, to continue on and kind of that talk of advancing beyond adversity, you felt that last week. You had a 14-0 deficit. You guys come back, score 26 straight points. At the end of the game, you're on the other side of the scoreboard, losing by 1 point in just the last couple of plays. It's a different dynamic coming off of big wins, 5 straight before this. Now you got a different dynamic this week coming off of a pretty devastating loss. How is it similar to the preparation and the mindset in the locker room, and how is it maybe different because of what was experienced last week in Oxford?
The mindset always going to be the same, to worry about the next team, to worry about the next week that we got to play on Friday. That's how it's always going to be. But coming from a loss standpoint, it just brings more of a brotherhood out of us. It brings more of grit out of us. You know what I'm saying? We got a little bit complacent, I could say, and it just brung us to making mistakes and things like that. But this week we dialed in just like we was the last week and the last week before that, and we coming to do what we do best, and we coming to win games.
Guys like you, guys like Jeremiah, Jamal Shakespeare, you've been in this position before where you've been in the mix for the OAA-Red championship. You've won the championship. You've beaten Clarkston, or at least been very competitive with them and seen them at tough points of this season. And so as the rest of this team, fairly young squad this season, gets ready for this matchup, how does that experience help you get everybody collectively, whether they're going to be the 11 on the field or they're going to be subbing in or out, or they may end up seeing some action, prepared for Clarkston on Friday night?
One thing about us, like I said, we a brotherhood, so we do things outside of football at a standpoint. So even outside of football, we talk about what's going to happen this week, what's going to happen that week, who we play this week, who we play that week. So they kind of feel the heart that I feel every time I talk to them, every time I speak to them, every time me and Jamal speak to them. They just feel what we got to say, and they take it to heart, and that's why we come out and play like how we play every week, and we play hard like that, yeah.
That environment last week in Oxford, it was something else. You don't see a high school environment like that too often. It's one of the best high school stadiums in the entire state of Michigan. It was their homecoming week last week. As you get ready for this week and arguably the biggest game of football at the high school level in the state of Michigan, what are you expecting from the Swamp and Laker Nation as they come out this Friday?
We expecting a lot from them. A lot of my friends going to be in the Swamp this week. Usually they always be there, and I love them to death, and I love how they cheer us on, how they do their chants, how they do all of that, and I love how also we could just talk about our Barstool page, how they love us, how they give us all the media coverage that we need, and y'all just giving us the media coverage that we need, and just it's going to be a fun time this week, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to battle, and we're going to do what we got to do for this school.
All ships flowing in the harbor right here in West Bloomfield. The biggest game in the state of Michigan is at the Swamp on Friday night. If you can make it out there, make it out there. Make it loud for the L Boys as they go up against the Clarkston Wolves. And if not, we'll be there for you on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Will, any last messages for the team, for Laker Nation this week as we get ready for Clarkston on Friday?
We them boys. We ice cold. We'll see y'all Friday.
Big message from Will Espy. Appreciate it. We'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. There is a lot to unpack about the Clarkston Wolves on the other side. Coach Hilbers will join us for a preview of this week's game as we get ready for the OAA-Red Division Championship. Stay with us. It's This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Carver will stay out there, bunch formation. He'll hand it off. Espy shifts again. Touchdown, WB.
I suddenly collapsed. I could hardly breathe. Everything went dark.
I'm gonna help you. I'm calling 911.
Thankfully, 2 wings of light landed on my chest, and I was brought back to life. A stranger, a fearless hero, touched my heart and saved my life. Our hands are wings of life. Learn hands-only CPR. Visit heart.org/CPR heroes.
Watch West Bloomfield Lakers football all season long on 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. Join Tyler Keefe and Matt Catoni each week for live, in-depth, and exclusive coverage before, during, and after the big game. It's your local high school football team on the road and in your backyard. This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside third-year head coach Zach Hilbers. The Lakers coming into this week with one loss for the first time all throughout the season. Their opponent doing the same, Clarkston, with one loss overall on the season, but they are 3-0 in the OAA-Red division, which sets up a very interesting matchup on Friday night. A win for the Lakers is a share of the OAA-Red division title. A loss would give Clarkston that title outright. Coach, as you get ready for Friday night, championships are great. The league championship is a great little check to mark off on your list. So how does that also factor into the motivation behind already a rivalry game that brings out the best in your players and the Wolves every single season?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do too much to get the kids excited to play Clarkston. They usually, the name on the jersey and then the schedule speaks for itself. But, there's an added thing this year. We fell last week when it was a little bit of a disappointment. But, we still have a chance, like you said, to share the league title with winning the head-to-head matchup, which is a pretty big deal. It's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, Clarkston consistently been a top 5 team in the state this season. Lakers, similar position as well, top 15, top 20 throughout the year. A win for either of these teams puts them in the driver's seat for a really good spot come playoff time. Coming off of last week, hard-fought matchup for your team in Oxford, a lot of good, some bad to adjust coming out of that. Clarkston, on the other hand, you look at their last 3 weeks, it seems like they're really hitting their stride, and they had a pretty emphatic win last week on the road at Lake Orion. As you prepare for them this week, what's been jumping off the page for you, especially those last few weeks, seeing them sort of reach near or at their peak in 2025?
Yeah, it certainly looked pretty good. They're playing pretty confident, both sides of the ball. They got some experience on both sides of the ball. They got some really good players that I think are really flying around. The twin brothers run really hard. They tackle well on defense. Quarterback's pretty good. O-line looks like they've gotten better each week. So, yeah, they're definitely a unique challenge.
Last week's quarterback matchup, very tough for West Bloomfield going up against Jack Hendricks. Alex Wazenko has been another one of those guys the last couple of years that's given not just the Lakers, but pretty much every team he's gone up against a lot of trouble. Last week, multiple touchdowns, 55-yarder, another that was over 30 yards, and a couple 16-yard touchdowns. Just how dangerous of a quarterback are you facing this week?
Oh, he's really good. Really good athlete, too. I don't know if it shows as much, but he can run. He's both as a scrambler, extending plays, and quarterback-designed runs. I thought he was pretty good as a sophomore. He's definitely playing a little bit more confident this year, and he trusts the guys around him, trusts the system, and he's pretty dangerous.
Guys like Childs and with the Bowman brothers, too, much like Oxford last week, they've got a lot of different options they can go to on that offensive side, guys they can focus in on that are multi-skilled. So from a defensive standpoint, how does Coach Jones, the rest of your staff, and of course the players prepare for that level of variety that Clarkston can and does bring week in and week out?
Yeah, I guess they're kind of similar to us in that regard, where they get the ball to multiple people and let different people kind of try to attack you different ways, and they give you a ton of formations and different looks and motions and stuff. But it comes down to you have to, match their physicality and I guess supersede their physicality if you want to beat them. You can't sit there and be passive. You got to be an attacking defense because they'll certainly attack you.
Their defense also is a killer. 2 out of the last 3 weeks, they've allowed 1 or no scores whatsoever, including only allowing 7 against Rochester Adams. Very, very big accomplishment. You guys only allowed 6, but it was a tough go to even get to that point. What do these last 3 weeks and those matchups that Clarkston's had say about just how strong their defense has become as they hit midseason and surpass it?
Yeah, they really fly around on the defensive side of the ball. They're pretty aggressive, sometimes to a fault, but more often than not, that aggression and I guess their physicality kind of puts you in a tough spot. They are out there and they're looking to kind of blow people up, I guess, like in the football legal way that you can do that. So I think with that, they're playing, like I said, pretty confidently, and the results have kind of shown that.
And this is the time of the year where you look at these matchups not only as being an excellent challenge for your team and certainly the bragging rights of a shared OAA-Red title play a factor motivationally, but as you're getting toward the final weeks of the season and you know you're going to be playing extra football in playoff time, what do these weeks then do for your team to get ready for that next step that comes just a few weeks away now when it is do or die?
Yeah, you're right. It's a good question. I think I guess every game on the schedule thus far has kind of been a playoff lesson. So like last week, we were in a game, had probably every chance to win it, and we didn't. So if you learn from that now, you can hopefully fix some of those things by the time you're in the playoffs. But if you have a playoff game like that, obviously your season's over. So I think the schedule, although it's a grind and it's brutal, it does prepare you pretty well. Just the nature of every single week, you have to take it so seriously and really kind of dive into your opponent and try your best to scheme and game plan because, every week's basically a playoff game.
When you have a team like you have this year that's a mixture of youth and veteran players, the veteran guys have been here and done that. They've seen wins, they've seen losses, big games, big disappointments. But the way that the season's gone so far and the matchup that you have ahead, coming off of a loss like last week, in that locker room, in those meetings, is there a different vibe, a different focus, a different energy trying to avenge that loss last week, right the ship, and simultaneously pick up what would arguably be the biggest win of the season this week?
I guess this week will kind of tell how we practice and everything, but I think the focus has been pretty good, at least today, to start the week. And the meetings last night, the kids have said the right things, have been where they're supposed to. So, if the next couple of days go like I think they will, maybe, last week's a refocusing game and we get back to playing really good football.
Clarkston coming in on Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff, homecoming night at West Bloomfield High School. Going to have all eyes from across the state right here at the Swamp, the biggest game in the state of Michigan. Will also be broadcast on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Visit our website, civiccentertv.com/Lakersports for all of that information and to watch the game on Friday if you can't make it out to the Swamp. Last week we saw an incredible environment at Oxford on their homecoming night. There's not necessarily as significant of a home field advantage that you feel at the high school game. We've talked about this multiple times, but if you have the homecoming game this week, the matchup that's going to be, how much does an environment that's a packed house, that brings that additional energy from Laker faithful play into for both the players and really just overall the vibe of that game when you have a moment like this on Friday night?
Yeah, it definitely helps. There's always like a buzz, which I'm sure you could feel Friday night up in Oxford if you were there, And the kids, they kind of feed off of that and the energy that the crowd has and I guess the atmosphere brings. But when it's all said and done, we always talk about controlling what you can control, and all that stuff's external. So if we do our job internally on the field and as individuals, as a group, we got a really good chance. But you're right, it definitely makes a difference to have that, the event and the week leading up to it.
There are two things on Friday night that will make your team be in the best position possible to beat the Clarkston Wolves and pick up that huge win and a share of the OAA-Red division title. If you had to pick what those two things are, what are they?
It's simple, but it's always what I'm going to say when it comes to anything football related. It's blocking and tackling. So if we can do a good job blocking, it'll lead to good runs. And if we can tackle their guys, that means, we're in the right spot. So blocking and tackling usually, that determines the winner in these games.
Yeah, if you open up the space on the field for this Lakers offense, somebody's scoring. It's Willie, it's Will, it's Obi, it's anybody else. And if you get in other players' ways on the defensive side, almost all of those end up in stops. Coach, appreciate it and looking forward to a good game on Friday.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to This Week in Laker Football. We got a big game on Friday night. You're going to want to tune in. CivicCenterTV.com/Lakersports. That's where the game will be broadcast and also where you can find all the Lakers football games so far this season and have people tune in to This Week in Laker Football for insights from across the OAA. Thank you for tuning in on behalf of the entire athletic department at West Bloomfield High School and our team at Civic Center TV alongside head coach Zach Hilbers. I'm Tyler Keefe. Thanks for tuning in to This Week in Laker Football.